Hello guys, my name is Robbie Ferry. I am an ambassador here at Yolio, and today we're going to be talking about picking the right wheel for your bike. So today we're going to talk about why it is vital to have the correct wheels for your bike and to suit your riding. Having the right wheels on your bike will make you faster, it will make your bike more reliable, it will make the work easier, and it's going to increase your performance. So in this video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about wheels and what kind of wheels suit what certain disciplines. So the first thing you're going to want to do is think about what kind of riding you're doing. So if you're doing road riding, then you're probably going to want a road wheel. If you're doing gravel riding, you're probably going to want a gravel wheel. And if you're doing mountain biking, you're probably going to want a mountain bike wheel. So what characteristics of a wheel defines the discipline it's going to be good at? The best way to tell you this is to break a bike wheel down and tell you all a little bit about what makes a bike wheel and the properties which are going to suit certain disciplines of riding. So the first thing to speak about is material. So in modern days, typically bike wheels are made of two different materials, aluminium or carbon fiber. This is a carbon fiber wheel from the guys at Yolio. Carbon fiber is an incredibly strong, light and stiff material. It is amazing when it comes to keeping your bike weight down and also keeping that rotational mass of your wheels spinning very, very quickly. One of the best upgrades you can make to any bike is upgrading from alloy wheels to carbon fiber. The only drawback of carbon fiber is it is a little bit more expensive to produce. Then you have aluminium wheels. So aluminium is strong, it is stiff, it's very cheap to produce, but it is much heavier than carbon fiber. So on more basic bikes, or if you're trying to keep the cost of a build down, aluminium is a cheaper material, but would be easily outperformed by carbon fiber in nearly every way. The next thing that you need to think about is braking systems. So you either get disc or you get rim brake. This is a disc brake wheel. As you can see, it has a big rotor on the middle of it, which the pads grip to slow the wheel down. This is probably the most efficient system because it doesn't put any wear on your wheel and the braking power is much better than a rim brake. This is a rim brake wheel. So instead of having a disc in the center, you actually have the pads grip onto the wheel itself. This is slowly becoming less and less seen in the market because the braking power isn't as good as disc, and also you actually wear down your wheels the more that you're braking. The next thing you need to think about when it comes to wheels is your tyres. So you actually have a few different types of tyres which are compatible for different types of wheels. So you have tubular, and tubular are actually a tyre which is stuck to the wheel itself and you require no inner tube. Clincher is where you have an inner tube and a tyre which goes on in this lovely little rimmed edge where the tyre grips onto. Then you have tubeless. So tubeless is very similar to clincher, but instead of having an inner tube, it's filled with sealant. And the beauty of this sealant is if you get punctures, it can self-repair. Tubular you'd typically see on time trial bikes and in the Tour de France, so very racy situations. Tubeless is becoming more and more common now and is great for things like bike packing and mountain biking. And clincher is still used quite a lot, but we're seeing less and less just standard clincher wheels on the market these days. But it is good if you want to keep, the budgets down, and tubes are very easy to repair roadside if you need to. Then we have something called the Aerodynamic Profile. So this Yolio wheel has a 50mm aerodynamic profile, and it is the height of the rim from here to here. Having a bigger aerodynamic profile does mean the wheel weighs a little more, but it does give it a huge aerodynamic advantage at higher speeds. So wheels like this are fantastic when you're not doing super hilly rides and when you're time trialing. But if you wanted to go to the mountains and you were doing just a lot of like hill climbing events and things like that, you're going to want something with a more shallower profile. So then we have internal rim width, and this is the distance between each lip of the rim where the tyre sits. Internal rim width is vital these days. So the more we see more do-it-all bikes and more multi-purpose bikes, companies have had to get very creative about their internal rim width. So typically, on a road bike, you will see a very small internal rim width of about 17 to 23 millimeters. That is because the tyres are smaller, and it means that the wheel can be thinner and have a more aerodynamic profile. Then you get gravel wheels. So gravel wheels typically will have anything from roughly a 23 to about a 28. And that is because they need to sit wider tyres. So a gravel tyre will literally could be anything from a 32C all the way up to a 50C. So it has to have a larger surface area to sit the tyre better on the inside of the rim. Then you have mountain bike wheels, and these have a huge internal rim width. And this is because they need to seat huge tyres, anything from 2 inches all the way up to 2.83 inch tyres. So they have to be much wider because it's important to the way the tyre is shaped and the bike will perform. So what wheels are best for what disciplines? So the first thing I'll say is if you have the choice between aluminium and carbon, I personally would go with carbon. It's lighter, it's stronger, it's different, it's just much faster. And honestly, it's just going to really improve the performance of your bike. So when it comes down to wheels, obviously there's a lot to think about. I've told you in this video, you've got internal rim width, you've got, aerodynamic profile. So depending on where you live and where you ride, you might want shallow wheels, you might want deep wheels. There's a lot to choose from. But generally, if you're riding a road bike, we're talking about all-round conditions, flats and hills, a wheel like this, so this is the Olio 50mm deep aerodynamic profile, so it's going to be good for the flats, it's going to be good for climbing. It's got a nice small internal rim width, so it's going to sit smaller tyres much better, would be ideal. And it's disc brake as well, so you're going to get superior braking power. If you decided that you're going to go gravel riding, you're probably going to want something with a slightly wider internal rim width, and you might want something with a lesser of a profile, so you're able to do more climbing and you're going to keep the weight down while gravel riding. If you're mountain biking, you're going to want something with a really, really shallow profile to keep the strength there. You're also going to want a really nice wide internal rim width, and of course, you're going to want disc brakes, because not only they're going to stop you very quickly, but they're going to do that in all conditions. And then it comes to tubular, clincher, or tubeless. So tubular, I'd really only use if you're road racing or time trialing. Clincher and tubeless, that's really personal preference, but overall, I personally would recommend tubeless, as it is just much better. And knowing it can self-heal its own tyres is a very nice thing when you're out with your friends and they're getting punched down to stop and change your inner tubes, and you can just carry on riding 80% of the time. So thank you guys for listening to our video today, and any questions, please drop them in the comments below.